Chapter 446, Dying Brain Cells. All attacks had a stun effect, but the amount differed depending on the attack. For example, skills like Dragon Tooth had a stun that could be counted in seconds and were clearly pointed out in the skill description. The majority of skills didn't mention a stun effect because the hit stun was pretty much instantaneous. It depended on the player's experience to seize it. The difference between normal players and experts were clearly reflected in places like these. Why were experts able to complete combos using a certain chain of moves, while normal players were always easily interrupted by experts using the same chain of moves? It was because experts had a good grasp of the skill's rhythm. Every time an attack hit, they would always be on point. In theory, true combos that couldn't be broken existed, but they were too difficult to perform. No matter how great a player was, the player could only try his best. It wasn't possible to grasp every attack perfectly 100% of the time. Yishu's attack succeeded this time. Huang Shaoshan hadn't taken the grenade seriously, but after the mechanical seeker exploded, even if he took it seriously now, it was already too late. The brief hit stun, which to most people was non-existent, allowed the grenade to hit Troubling Rain's body. No matter how fast his reactions were, it wasn't possible to do anything at this point. The grenade exploded and the blast sent Troubling Rain flying. Yishu had clearly calculated this. The positioning created by the explosion was what he needed. Lord Grimm rushed towards that position. Huang Shaoshan wouldn't just let it happen and put up a struggle. However, unfortunately, his movement skills, Falling Phoenix Slash and Falling Light Blade, had just been used and were on cooldown. If a character could float freely in the air, then being in the air wouldn't be an opportunity players would chase after. Huang Shaoshan didn't have anything he could use and watch helplessly as Lord Grimm met him face-on with a collapsing mountain, sending him crashing to the ground. Troubling Rain wouldn't just fall to the ground like that. He touched it with a quick recover. For an expert at his level, failing a tech was considered a huge mistake. Huang Shaoshan obviously wouldn't make such a low-leveled mistake and his Troubling Rain rolled away. Quick recover allowed the character to not get knocked to the ground, but the character wasn't invincible to the opponent's attacks. In a match at this level, an opportunity to counterattack had to be found while teching in order to turn the situation around. Huang Shaoshan's Troubling Rain hadn't even rolled one body unit away, when he leapt into the air. His body spun in the air like a spinning top and moved in a trajectory parallel to the ground. The tip of his sword was raised up above his heads. Numerous sword arcs twisted towards Lord Grimm. Blade Master Level 45 Skill, Headwind Strike. Even though Headwind Strike only moved forward, it enveloped a rather large area. In addition, the sword arcs flying forward were completely controlled by the player. As a result, whether one jumped or rolled, it was very difficult to escape from this sword prison. Yishu didn't face it head-on. He didn't have Lord Grimm stop there either, but instead had Lord Grimm retreat back. Sure enough, the instant he retreated back, Troubling Rain looked as if he extended the sword prison and the sword arcs extended another half a body. This was a trick or perhaps a flourish used by Blade Masters. By controlling the arcs, they didn't extend the range to the limit at the start and intentionally held back. Someone not experienced enough would think that he was outside of the range, but then be caught off guard as the sword prison pushed forward and enveloped him. Yishu obviously knew this trick, so he hadn't stopped and jumped back. He had dodged it, but it had been a really close one. How much distance was being held back depended on the player. A noob wouldn't be able to perform the trick. Among normal players, as long as one was able to complete such a move, it didn't matter how much distance was hidden, it would be enough for one to show off. Huang Shaoshan's Headwind Sword had actually hidden half a body unit. In the entire Glory universe, no one else could accomplish this. Not bad, Huang Shaoshan shouted. His move had dispelled Yishu's offensive, causing his fighting spirit to rise, especially after knowing that Yishu had begun to show the power of an unspecialized. This was what he had been waiting for. After using Headwind Sword, he didn't wait to land on the ground and immediately swung his sword. But this time, it wasn't a Blade Master skill and instead the Spellblade skill, Earthquake Sword. This low-leveled skill wouldn't do much damage. Blade Masters also weren't a magic-based class either. Earthquake Sword would usually only be leveled only once and was used as a control or combo move. Huang Shaoshan had timed this skill well and caught Lord Grimm right when he was about to land. Lord Grimm quickly unsheathed a sword and slashed to one side, using a falling light blade to slide diagonally to the ground to avoid the attack. Falling light blade was the move that Huang Shaoshan had wanted to use when he had been blasted into the air earlier, but it had been on cooldown for him. Now, Yishu's Lord Grimm used this skill in the air as if to taunt Huang Shaoshan. Shameless, Huang Shaoshan chattered as he closed in. Even though he had never fought against an unspecialized before, just from the class's intrinsic properties, he didn't need to fight against one to think of a few basic issues. Unspecialized characters had classes that spanned all 24 classes and undoubtedly possessed a variety of skills. Long range, melee, aerial, unspecialized could use any type of skill. In melee range, unspecialized might use Blade Master or Assassin skills. In long range, unspecialized might use Gunner or Mage skills. While moving, unspecialized might drop traps to see if you would fall into one if you fell to the ground. Right now, the two characters had a bit of distance between them. Huang Shaoshan's troubling rain lost his offensive capabilities and needed to close in. Usually, he would want to find some way of getting close to long-ranged classes. As long as he was able to close in, it could said that he would have already won half the battle. But against an unspecialized? If he got close, it just meant that he was no longer in a situation where he couldn't attack. Next, he still had to face a class that wasn't afraid to be up close. As troubling rain rushed forward, Lord Grimm fired his gun, but he didn't retreat. If this was any other gunner class, there was no way they would just sit there waiting for the Blade Master to arrive. But an unspecialized wasn't afraid. If the Blade Master was up close, then the unspecialized could simply switch from a gun to a sword or spear. While troubling rain closed the distance, Lord Grimm's myriad manifestation umbrella continued to fire. Once the two sides were close enough, the umbrella suddenly transformed from a gun to a spear. The sudden change was similar to what Huang Shaoshan had done with his headwind sword. Huang Shaoshan had been prepared though. After all, he was an expert at doing this, so the transformation from gun into spear didn't cause too much trouble for him. Troubling rain turned and also made a slash with a sword at the same time. Wah! The myriad manifestation umbrella flipped open into an umbrella in front of troubling rain's face. The sword hit the umbrella canopy. Then, Lord Grimm pushed the umbrella forward and suddenly, all Huang Shaoshan could see on his screen was a giant circle. The drawings on the circle looked quite nice and they seemed to be spinning too like a computer screensaver. Too shameless, Huang Shaoshan shouted as he moved. This was a commonly used move done by knights. They would move their shields right in front of your face. The view seen by the player was through the character's two eyes, so by putting the shield in front of your eyes, the shield would block your view. All the dirty tricks the different classes use really aren't a problem for you, Huang Shaoshan cursed as he continued to move. He had to hurry up and get out of this situation. Using the shield to block your view wasn't done just to play hide and seek with you. The next second, the opponent could send a sword flying towards you. In order to resolve the situation, one had to quickly pull open the distance. Only with distance would it be possible to see the situation. The only inconvenient part about this move was that the user was unable to see how effective his move was because he couldn't see his opponent's screen. It was a move that tested knowledge and prediction. But as an experienced god and hailed as a textbook, knowing every detail of the game was something he possessed. Yishu already had a good idea of the distance and to what extent his umbrella blocked his opponent's view. For someone like him who only need to know the skills and tricks of a class, he might even be more precise than top-tier knights. This was because this didn't require an understanding of the class, but an understanding of the details of glory. The instant his myriad manifestation umbrella opened up, Yishu knew that his screensaver had been successful. Huang Shaoshan was definitely trying to pull away to get away from the screensaver. But when Huang Shaoshan pulled away, Yishu took away that screensaver, but instead of taking it back completely, he stabbed forward and his shield turned into a spear. F***ck your sister, Huang Shaoshan cried and was caught unprepared. Troubling Rain was stabbed by the dragon tooth. This was a skill with a stun, so the follow-ups couldn't be avoided. A sky strike launched him into the air. Too shameless, Huang Shaoshan's character was in the air, but his mouth didn't stop moving as he cursed. A screensaver could be done by knights, but a screensaver directly into an attack was something knights couldn't do. Knights had a shield in one hand and a weapon in the other. They were clearly separate, but the previous chain of attacks had never been done before in glory history. Huang Shaoshan had to have caught it. He's hurting our brains, the spectators began commenting. Yeah, how are you supposed to defend against those transformations? If it was just a few transformations, then it would be okay. But this thing has too many. It covers all the classes. It can definitely do all of the classes, but what I'm not sure is whether there really is only 6 types of classes? Are there any small differences within each class? There's no way it's just 6. Didn't you just see that shield into spear come out? What a headache. The pros were already certain that fighting against an unspecialized would make their heads hurt. Chapter 447, Unspecialized Combo. To the spectating pro players, they didn't actually care who had won or lost this match. In their eyes, Huang Shaoshan and his troubling Rain were simply little white lab mice. It didn't really matter how they had tussled. Their main focus was on Lord Grimm and the weapon that was in his hands. Huang Shaoshan might only be a little white lab mouse, but he was certainly an elite one. With him as a reference, it made it easy for them to see how difficult an unspecialized character was to deal with. They only discussed a few words, before finally returning their focus back to the match. In a one-on-one match, it would only last a few minutes. There wasn't much time for them to freely say what they had wished. After being struck by a dragon tooth and launched into the air with a sky strike, Troubling Rain wasn't able to fall back to the ground for a while. Lord Grimm chased after him and seized this aerial opportunity to combo in a few hits. There was nothing Huang Shaoshan could do. Yishu's comboing was perfect. If he had tried to get away with something like a falling light blade, he would only be wasting his cooldowns. As an expert opportunist, he was also very good at being patient. Huang Shaoshan continued to chatter as he carefully paid attention to Lord Grimm's attacks. Skills, angles, timing, weapon forms, length. Every detail had to be noted, and it was possible for an opening appear at any time. This is the difference between an expert and a noob. Noobs are unable to see through a difference in particulars. Veteran players might be able to see through the difference, but they are unable to seize it. Experts can see through the differences, but might only be able to seize it at times. Someone who is able to seize it often is considered a god. Yishu and Huang Shaoshan were both gods. Huang Shaoshan watched Yishu's attacks attentively and resented them so much that his teeth were starting to itch. His voice began to grow louder. No one was perfect. Even if it was Yishu, there was no way he could do every detail perfectly. However, he was good at distributing his attention. This was because even though some details might not have been performed perfectly, the other side probably couldn't be able to take advantage of it. This was how Yishu played. It could even be said that his combos were full of holes. However, if a hole can't be taken advantage of by the opponent, then it couldn't really be considered a hole. His combo didn't stop, however, giving the crowd some time to discuss amongst themselves. He's not going to just get comboed to death, right? Unspecialized have so many options. The pro players went into a discussion. They could understand the reason why Huang Shaoshan was unable to escape from the combo. For this to be possible, it had to be an advantage in the classes. Unspecialized characters had numerous skills at their disposal. Moreover, they were all low-leveled skills with quick startup times and short cooldowns. By using these skills to create combos, the comboing was very flexible and adaptable. For example, in some cases, a regular class only had one option to continue the combo. If the skill was on cooldown, the combo would naturally stop. Or perhaps if this skill needed a certain setup to use, then the combo would also stop. On the other hand, unspecialized characters would rarely come into these types of situations because they had so many skills to use. In any situation, they had multiple options they could choose from. Most of the time, the unspecialized could just pick whichever one was most convenient to keep the combo going. You can say that in theory, but with 120 different skills, who could create such an unbreakable combo without needing to take time to think? Someone asked. The public chat suddenly went quiet. Someone sent out an injured emoji, making everyone start a train of messages again. Pro players wouldn't be a stranger to any skill in the game. Because of different amounts of experience, everyone had different understandings of how to use a skill in real battle. Knowing these skills and stringing them all together were two completely different matters though. Huang Shaoshan, show some more spirit. People began cheering for Huang Shaoshan. This didn't necessarily mean they wanted Huang Shaoshan to win. The more they watched, the more they felt like they needed to study the unspecialized character. They hoped to see more from this match and hoped that Huang Shaoshan could force Yishu to reveal more things. As for what exactly those things were, they didn't know either because no one had studied unspecialized characters before. Shut up. You come down and show some spirit. D** Minnesota, you still have time to look at the chat? You must not have much to do. You think this is relaxing? The current taunting wasn't simply there for fun. This type of agitating could be considered a type of trash talk, but it was also being done in hopes of encouraging Huang Shaoshan. Brother Yu, losing like this is too unsightly. Punish him. Some even complained to Yu Wenzhou. Ha ha, Yu Wenzhou only laughed, but didn't say anything. He had been watching quietly the entire time and had only talked privately with his teammates sometimes. He hadn't said anything in the public chat. Brother Yu, what do you think of this match? Some directly asked him. Yu Wenzhou truly was someone worth asking. For one, he was a very experienced and qualified glory player, and two, he was extremely familiar with Huang Shaoshan. Shaoshan is probably going to lose. Yu Wenzhou didn't hide and replied. Why? The asker continued to ask. The others stopped what they were doing, waiting for the reply. Unspecialized characters have so many options. Experience will be needed to deal with one. But who has experience fighting an unspecialized? That's why Shaoshan probably won't be able to keep up. Yi Chu isn't a noob either. He surely knows this well. Did you guys notice? Not one of his combos are conventional ones. Aside from a dragon tooth into a guaranteed sky strike, have you seen two skills from the same class being used one after the other? Yu Wenzhou slowly typed. Yu Wenzhou might not have been the only one to notice this, but quite a few hadn't. Everyone listened and took note. Soon, quite a few of them made sounds of them understanding it. Huang Xiao, your captain is giving you advice. Did you hear it? Someone took the chance to taunt him. F***ck off. Huang Shaoshan wasn't like Yu Wenzhou and gave a prompt reply. Brother Yu, he actually dares to tell you to F***ck off. That person turned his head to report it. Yu Wenzhou didn't take note of these jokes and didn't reply. He continued to watch the match very carefully. Huang Shaoshan already knew about all of this. This was why as he watched, he thought to himself, looking for possible ways for these low-leveled skills to be used. Once he understood the reasoning, he could then make a prediction. If his prediction was correct, he might be able to break the combo. If this was during the season, a lot of time would have been taken to study this opponent. But Huang Shaoshan was already being comboed up in the air before he began doing this work. It was very likely that he wouldn't be able to get anything out of it before he died. As a result, Huang Shaoshan wouldn't hurt his head over this and memorize the previous sequences. He thought about what openings might appear in these sequences and prepared for them. Next, he needed some luck. He needed Yishu to repeat a combo sequence, which would then give him an opportunity. Completely seeing through the possible combinations for the 120 skills while in battle was impossible. Troubling Rain's health continued to drop. Huang Shaoshan didn't get discouraged nor did he lose hope. He continued to wait. When he needed to be patient and when he needed to concentrate, he could still blabber and trash talk. Huang Shaoshan truly wasn't ordinary. Huang Shaoshan often narrated his moves, but unfortunately he couldn't make any moves, so he switched to narrating Lord Grimm's moves. In order to maintain his style, he was just randomly spouting words. It didn't matter if the skill being used and the skill being narrated didn't match. Then, he would add a, wow, amazing, or a, what am I going to do, or a, oh no, I'm going to die. If anyone listened to him, they wouldn't think he was a hunter waiting for a catch. Even though he said all this, no one replied. Huang Shaoshan felt like Yishu definitely wasn't wearing his headphones. If Yishu had been pretending in order to make him shut up, with him still blabbering so much, it clearly hadn't worked. It was possible he had already given up on the plan. And since he's been so quiet for so long, he probably hadn't heard him. Shameful. As he said this, he began filling the screen with words. The crowd wailed. This was the type of style everyone was familiar with. In the Pro Alliance, voice was prohibited, so only typing was allowed. As a result, Huang Shaoshan would do his taunting in the public chat. There was no prohibition today, so he had used his mouth. It was a rare clean chat, but it had suddenly erupted. As he typed, Huang Shaoshan didn't let up with his waiting. Don't give me a chance. If you give me a chance, you'll die. Everyone thought he was just bragging, but the opportunity actually came. After a striker's collapsing fist, Lord Grimm used a witch's shadow cloak to pull him in. This was a sequence Huang Shaoshan had memorized. At this moment, right after the collapsing fist, he made his preparations. Lord Grimm flung his sleeves and a dark shadow flew out. Huang Shaoshan was able to react. He let out a rising phoenix slash. Troubling rain looked as if he had stepped on the dark shadow as he pounced towards Lord Grimm. Ah! That instant, quite a few had shouted at their computers and then the chat immediately burst into astonished emojis. Everyone had thought that Huang Shaoshan would be comboed to death by the unfamiliar unspecialized. Who would have thought that he would be able to turn the situation around and counter-attack? Shaoshan, how mighty, quite a few began typing. Chapter 448, can you hear me? Pro players are too amazing, Lulan / couldn't help but exclaim. Their little group was a bit biased. After being beaten by Huang Shaoshan so brutally, everyone hoped to see Yishu win gloriously. They already saw Yishu as one of their own. They all felt quite happy seeing troubling rain being tossed around in the air like a rag doll. However, besides that, Lulan / was also feeling a bit disappointed. The match with Huang Shaoshan left quite a deep impression on him. He had played Glory for a long time and had experienced many PvP matches, but none of them had moved him so much like that match. The sudden retaliation that reversed the situation, the sudden drop from heaven to hell. Even though Lulan / was the one being pushed around, which had made him very sad for a while, he had to admit that Huang Shaoshan's finishing blow had been brilliant. He had not only won the match, but he had also devastated his morale. If this was the Pro Alliance final, an abrupt reversal would feel worse than death. Who knew how long it would take the person to recover? Thankfully, it had only been an ordinary spar. Lulan / wouldn't feel depressed enough to cough up blood. In that moment, Lulan / suddenly had an epiphany. It was no wonder Tiny Herb hated Blue Rain so much after getting robbed of their champion title. Huang Shaoshan's one-shot kill style may be very exciting for the onlookers, but to the people at the scene, it was so very painful. Now, Lulan / was a spectator. Even though from his feelings, he hoped that Yishu would win, deep down, Lulan / also wished to see Huang Shaoshan create such a situation again. Unconsciously, Lulan / had already become enamored with the thrill of the defining strike. He even imagined himself being a similar type of player. This would become the focus of his daydreaming for a long time. However, Huang Shaoshan being stuck in the air the entire time was a bit disappointing, up until the unexpected falling phoenix / broke Lord Grimm's combo. Lulan / immediately became excited and blurted out praise for it. Luckily, he had only said pro player. If he had called out Huang Shaoshan's name directly, he would definitely be looked down on and despised as a traitor by his friends. Falling phoenix / the blade rises, the phoenix falls. Huang Shaoshan wasn't just looking to escape, but also a strong comeback. Upward /. Huang Shaoshan yelled as he followed up with an upward /. Lord Grimm was launched into midair. However, Huang Shaoshan didn't rely on the opponent being airborne. Combos didn't require the subject to be in the air. Being airborne just made it harder for the opponent to break free. An unspecialized character like Lord Grimm had a wealth of skills to break free from the combo. For Huang Shaoshan, being airborne wasn't important. What was important was his ability to keep hitting Yi Shu. Triple slash. Huang Shaoshan yelled and used triple slash, which was a typical movement option used by blade masters to quickly get away or to shrink the distance between an opponent. With Huang Shaoshan's skillful manipulation, troubling rain dance around Lord Grimm in a triangle. The 3 slashes all landed on Lord Grimm. Lunge. Moonlight slash. Upward slash. Formless phantom blade. Headwind strike. Huang Shaoshan yelled out skill names out constantly. The skills he named didn't match the ones he was using. Huang Shaoshan just went on randomly. If the audience could hear him, they would even hear him chanting the casts for mage skills. At the same time, Huang Shaoshan stopped sending messages. He was very good at multitasking, but facing this powerful opponent, he finally decided to dedicate all his hand speed onto performing. This was a rare chance that he had fought hard for. He needed to focus to deal as much damage as possible to Lord Grimm. If he failed and his opponent found another opportunity to lash back, he would probably never find another lucky chance to reverse the situation. Die 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 die. Huang Shaoshan roared, attacking more ruthlessly than before. His performance, on the other hand, was more cautious than before as well. He needed to try his best to ensure 100% perfection on his performance. It was the only way to ensure Yi Chu wouldn't have a chance to overturn the situation. The blade danced furiously and continuously. In this non-stop wave of attacks, there were other skills that did not belong to the blade master. Regular attacks, Spellblade, Ghostblade, and Berserker were all in the mix. These class were all under the general class of swordmen, so their level 20 and under skills could be learned freely. How one chooses from these skills is completely based on the person's preference. Huang Shaoshan had long stopped struggling over which skill to learn and which skill he needed to level up. He had grasped his character's skill combination a long time ago. He could whip out round after round of combos instinctively. All he needed to do in that moment was to focus, to be fast and steady. Huang Shaoshan knew his opponent did not have the same problem as he did. Yi Chu's mind wouldn't be as slow like how he struggled with the unfamiliarity of the unspecialized class. Was there anything in Glory that God Yi Chu, Glory's textbook, would not know? Among all the combos of Blade Master, there was nothing that was a secret to him. Some of the combos were even created by him. Huang Shaoshan's performance was undoubtedly incredible. After the unspecialized combos, he followed with an excellent combo of his own. The onlooking pro players were surprised by the excellence of Huang Shaoshan's performance and applauded him. However, the one they really wanted to see was Huang Shaoshan's opponent. They wanted to know if Unspecialized had ways to forcefully end Huang Shaoshan's combos. If Lord Grimm actually died in one breath under Troubling Rain's constant assault, they would be really disappointed. They would rather watch Troubling Rain die under the constant combos than Lord Grimm. At least, they could see more of an unspecialized combo that way. F***ck, Huang Shaoshan cursed. He was unable to continue his perfection to the end. He missed. That tiny mistake would not even be considered as a mistake in front of a regular opponent, but in front of another god. Huang Shaoshan did not waste time on daydreams. He already started to prepare for Yi Chu's revenge. Painfully, facing this unspecialized, Huang Shaoshan had no idea what strange skill to expect. Despite the numerous thoughts, not even half a second had passed since his mistake. Myriad Manifestation Umbrella opened unexpectedly and shot towards Troubling Rain. UB*TCH, Huang Shaoshan was met with another screensaver. The same move won't work on me twice, Huang Shaoshan yelled out while filling the public channel with the same message. At the same time, his character jumped back, trying to put some distance between himself and the umbrella as fast as possible. Despite the intensity of this moment, seeing Huang Shaoshan's messages, many could not help about complain. What? Huang Shaoshan? Could you be a Knight of the Zodiac? Leo's Knight of the Zodiac. There were some who knew Huang Shaoshan's astrological sign. Lightning bolt, destroy him. Some pro players, who knew of the Knights of the Zodiacs well, shouted enthusiastically. In the end, Huang Shaoshan did not use Leo's lightning bolt. He chose to use the Blade Master level 70 skill, Formless Phantom Blade. D** Minnesota. You're seeking your own death. The pro players cried out in shock. Without any setup, Huang Shaoshan just threw out a Formless Phantom Blade. If Huang Shaoshan wasn't asking for his own demise, then what could he possibly be doing? Wait. Yi Shu is holding a shield, he can't see it now, someone called out as if he discovered a new world. He can't see it, but he can hear it. In this instant, everyone recalled the difference. This was a regular arena. Originally, Huang Shaoshan would be chattering ceaselessly, but he switched to sending messages non-stop halfway through the match. Based on the fact that he voluntarily retaliated, one could see that Huang Shaoshan didn't switch to messages because he was bored, but rather because he figured that the opponent could not hear him. In conclusion, facing Huang Shaoshan's irritating chatter, Yi Chu had abandoned his headphones. His view was currently covered by the umbrella shield, and without a headphone, there was no way for him to know that Huang Shaoshan was using a formless phantom blade so shamelessly. All sorts of thoughts were spinning around in their hearts, but all of this happened in a split second. While everyone believed that Yi Chu did not know about Formless Phantom Blade, a silhouette flashed behind Troubling Rain. Because Lord Grimm stayed where he was, still holding an opened umbrella, Huang Shaoshan unleashed a beautiful Formless Phantom Blade, ready to crush Lord Grimm into nothing. Everyone sent their prayers in silence and sent emojis of a can't bear to witness face. At the same time, Huang Shaoshan didn't realize the impending disaster until he destroyed the elusive figure in front of him with a strike. Last time, all the combos came in the air. This time, all the combination of skills came from the back. F***CKF. You can hear me, Huang Shaoshan roared, trying to shatter Yi Chu's eardrums. He also typed this comment into the public chat channel to show how despicable Yi Chu was. Tisk tisk tisk, the audience signed. This was the classic example of being tricked by one's own wisdom. Everyone lamented over Huang Shaoshan's demise while admiring Yi Chu's persistence. Yi Chu not only survived under Huang Shaoshan's sound attacks against all odds, he also tricked Huang Shaoshan into think that he couldn't hear anything. At that time, Lulan / felt he needed to speak up to clarify God Yi Chu's circumstances. He really can't hear anything. Lulan / Before he went down the ring, he asked me to mute it. Lulan / was the admin of the room. Oh, people murmured in realization. In the ring, Huang Shaoshan, of course, could see the messages posted in the public channel. Cheater. You have to tell the participant before you change the rules. Huang Shaoshan watched his Troubling Rain fell in front of Lord Grimm as he cried out internally. He finally adjusted his view just now. Back attacks were just as troublesome as aerial ones. This time, Huang Shaoshan did not last long enough to see another chance to reverse the tide. Were you talking the whole time? Yi Shu, who just won, asked in the channel. In disbelief, no one answered his question. Chapter 449, each with their own thoughts. For a guess at whether or not he could hear or not would decide the match made the crowd somewhat speechless because this was something that would never happen in an official match. Just like Huang Shaoshan's blabbering, in an official match, the rules would be clearly shown. However, this wasn't an official match. And against Huang Shaoshan, muting voice communication was something that would certainly be supported by the crowd. It was just that Huang Shaoshan wasn't notified of this. Again. Just when everyone was thinking, Huang Shaoshan had already stood back up, shouting for another match. F***CK, you're still going? Go stand in line. Yeah. You should be at the back of the line. My turn. A bunch of pro players were eager to give it a try. Many curious pro players couldn't be satisfied with just watching. Quite a few wanted to personally experience an unspecialized Soon afterwards, a huge quarrel erupted outside of the ring on who should go up first, but the one thing they all agreed on was that Huang Shaoxin had already fought once, so he wasn't allowed to fight again. Roll a dice. Roll a dice. Whoever gets the biggest number wins, someone suggested. Your mother. There's over 100 people. How are we supposed to get them all? Another objected. In the beginning, there had only been around 50 people, but later, another group of people arrived. There were even a few strangers mixed in, but no one paid them any heed. What do you mean again? Lord Grimm suddenly typed. How could give you guys opportunities to see through me? Ha 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 ha. Class is over. Bye everyone. God. F***CK. Quote exclamation mark quote. All sorts of curses were used. If this were an official match, they would all be penalized for saying these types of words. But today, they were only in the in-game arena, so anything went. Everyone took this chance to vent their anger. But the god did what he said. He ignored everyone's shouts and directly left the ring. Some even tried to send a request to fight, but Yishu ignored them all and even left the room. There was nothing they could do. If he said he didn't want to, then they couldn't force him to. Lulan/'s group wanted to watch some more too, but if God Yichu had decided to leave, then they naturally couldn't object. They also wanted to fight with some of the people in the crowd, but now even a blind person could tell why they had all come here. If they went up and asked to fight them, then they would probably receive the same words God Yichu used to reject them. They were just about to leave, when Lulan/ suddenly received a friend invite. He opened it and looked. The name on it gave him a huge shock, Vacaria. Champion Team Tiny Herbs Captain, Wang Jiaxi's Vacaria. Lulan/ immediately accepted and wondered whether he was dreaming or not. Hi, after accepting the friend request, Vacaria immediately messaged him. Hi God. Lulan/ replied. If this was before, when he had been a famous money warrior, he wouldn't have taken pro players very seriously. But ever since he had gotten into contact with Yishu, he had realized that he had been too arrogant. Huang Shaoxin's match with him gave him another unforgettable lesson. Towards God-level players, he didn't dare disrespect them. And the person talking with him was someone who had won 2 championship titles in the last 3 years. His impressive achievements had already won him success and recognition. Someone like Zhou Zikai might be more popular, but he hadn't won any prizes yet, so he still lacked in influence. Switch rooms and compare notes, Wang Jiaxi replied. Lulan/ was overwhelmed by favor from his senior and immediately notified his group. When the rest heard this, they all felt quite excited. After being crushed by Huang Shaoxin, they all felt like they had been left ignored in a corner. A god had actually noticed them. At the same time, Lulan/ told what had happened to Yishu, asking if Yishu wanted to come too. Oh, he's inviting you guys, so you guys go? I won't be going, Yishu said. Okay, we'll be going then, Lulan/ replied to Yishu. He had already given his reply to Wang Jiaxi long ago. Wang Jiaxi had already created the room. After the reply came, Lulan/ called his friends to go over. As for Yishu, he had already left the room and the arena, so the arena invites naturally wouldn't work anymore. Huang Shaoxin refused to give up. He tried adding Lord Grimm as a friend, but the other side closed it without even looking at it. Yishu had received too many friend requests when he stepped into the heavenly domain and had already closed off the function. Yishu couldn't be contacted in-game, so Huang Shaoxin could only spam him in QQ. He knew that Yishu was online, so he didn't spam it in the group chat. He sent him a private message and spammed him repeatedly. He finally received a reply, I'm going to block you. The instant the other side went online on QQ, Huang Shaoxin went into a fury. QQ trembled. He barraged Yishu with video chat requests, voice chat requests, and all sorts of pictures to show his unwavering determination, until Yishu finally replied, so noisy. I'm logging off. Afterwards, his image went gray. Huang Shaoxin didn't believe him and continued bothering him for another 5 minutes without any response, until he finally gave up. He switched back to the group chat, which was bustling with noise. It was late at night, yet no one had gone to sleep. They were all discussing the unspecialized problem. Some had only just learned of it and hastily asked around on information. They all wanted a recording to watch. Many of them had obviously recorded it. A few enthusiastic players shared it with everyone. Those who hadn't seen it immediately downloaded it. As the character who lost in the video, Huang Xiaoshan was naturally very sad. But even so, he had also recorded it. He opened it up and began slowly studying it. "What did you think of it?" On QQ, his team captain Yu Wenzhou messaged him. "Very difficult to deal with," Huang Xiaoshan replied. "The fixed field covered up some of his problems though. Nothing could be done about that. His level is too low. If you two had played in a normal match, his Dragon Tooth stun wouldn't even be able to break past your equipment's stun resistance," Yu Wenzhou replied. "Yeah, but his combos really are complicated. It's going to take a lot of effort to study them," Huang Xiaoshan said. "When all is said and done, matches are never decided by a single person," Yu Wenzhou said. "But I have a premonition that when he returns, he'll definitely be a huge problem," Huang Xiaoshan said. "He always was," Yu Wenzhou said. "What a pity. It isn't possible to find another unspecialized like him." Huang Xiaoshan was quite bitter because he hadn't achieved his goal. "What do you think of those other people?" Yu Wenzhou asked. He was obviously talking about Lulan/'s group. "Their skill is okay, but they're too green. They're a quota team level," Huang Xiaoshan replied. A quota team level meant that they were around the same level as the last place team struggling to stay in the alliance. In the first half of the season, Team Excellent Era had perished into the quota team realm, making many drop their glasses in surprise. "Don't come to a conclusion too early. They still have half a year before they enter the Pro Alliance," Yu Wenzhou said. "Yeah. If they get Yi Chu, then it'll be a huge help to them," Huang Xiaoshan said. "Don't forget that Thunderclap without Shao Shiken is only at a quota team level," Yu Wenzhou said. "But Yi Chu will only be able to enter midway into the season. He can't come out in the first half," Huang Xiaoshan said. "That's why this team will only be able to truly show their strength in Season 10, Yu Wenzhou said. "What level will Yi Chu be at then?" Huang Xiaoshan muttered. "That's hard to say. Will a year of retirement make his skills turn rusty, or will he return greater than before after a hard-earned rest?" Yu Wenzhou said. "Only the demons know what schemes he's plotting," Huang Xiaoshan cursed. Club Tyranny. The fascinating unspecialized character wasn't able to move Zhang Jinji's unshakable sleep schedule. Huang Xiaoshan had only just received the second fight, when he fell asleep on time. However, in Tyranny, Han Wenqing and he weren't the only two watching. At this moment, Han Wenqing was quietly watching the replay and hadn't looked for any other team's players to discuss things with. He hadn't participated in the pro player group chat's discussion either. On his screen played the part where Troubling Rain was being comboed by Lord Grimm. Han Wenqing paid close attention to the screen, but his expression didn't seem too focused. But the moment Troubling Rain turned the situation around with a rising phoenix slash, he immediately rewinded the replay back to where Lord Grimm had began the combo with a Dragon Tooth to Sky Strike. He switched perspectives and continued to watch. Han Wenqing watched again and again. Suddenly, the light in his eyes suddenly blazed. After nodding his head slightly, he closed the recording, shut off the computer, got up, closed the lights, and went to bed. At Club Excellent Era, Sun Shang was also watching the recording. He didn't participate in the group discussion either. Just like Han Wenqing, he also watched again and again, but he watched the entire match. From start to finish, he only watched from one perspective, Huang Xiaoshan's. As he quietly watched, his mouth seemed to be muttering something. All of the pro players who hadn't slept were doing the same thing, watching the recording. They might be discussing in a group with everyone, or they might be discussing with their own team members in private. Every team, every player was trying to find something from this recording. Yi Shu didn't have one. He hadn't recorded it. After leaving the match and arena, he went to level as if nothing had happened. This made Chen Guo very unsatisfied. Beating Huang Xiaoshan had made her blood boil. She had been excitedly waiting for Yishu to challenge every one of the pro players in the crowd and defeat them all. Even though that was a bit of a stretch, but the more of a stretch it was, the more exciting, no? But after beating Huang Shaoxin, Yishu just left. Lulan/his group even went to fight Wang Jiaxi, but he wouldn't even go to that. Go. Go. Why not go? Chen Guo said. Because I don't intend on letting these people get a deeper understanding of me, Yishu said. Chapter 450, Diligence. Chen Guo didn't have much of a temper towards Yishu. Seeing that he was just leveling, she wasn't going to watch that. Chen Guo had remembered the match between Lulan/his group and Wang Jiaxi though. Why do you think Wang Jiaxi looked for them? Could he have seen some talent in them and was looking to pull someone in? Chen Guo knew about Wang Jiaxi wanting to rope in Tang Ru, so she thought of this reasoning. No idea. I'll go investigate, Chen Guo said. If you want to watch the show, just say it. Why make an excuse? Yishu disdained. Chen Guo waved her fist at Yishiyu and then went to ask Lulan/. Chen Guo hadn't thought much of the money warrior, but after seeing the fight between Lulan/ and Huang Shaoxin, she felt a bit touched and her views changed greatly. It was true that with money, a character could skip through many obstacles, particularly in the equipment area, but she couldn't ignore his efforts. Even though Lulan/ had been a bit distracted fighting against Huang Shaoxin in the first half of the fight, later, he let everyone see his efforts. Chen Guo couldn't help but feel upset at her previous judgment of him. She didn't need to say it out loud though. Even if she felt regretful, as long as they got along better in the future, it would be fine. Chen Guo thought like this, so she was also interested in the spar between Lulan/his group and Wang Jiaxi. After asking Lulan/, he immediately sent her their room number. Chen Guo ran over to take a look and saw that they were currently fighting. This time, because Yishu's Lord Grimm wasn't holding them back, they had switched to the normal mode. Bakuria's equipment as a god-level character gave him an absolute advantage, but at the same time, Lulan/ wanted to see just how strong this equipment was. After Chen Guo entered the room, she just happened to see Little Bei's battle mage fall. She asked the rest of them what the situation was and found out that they had already finished their second round. The elementalist Ocean ahead had already lost a match. It hadn't been long, but they had already finished fighting 2 matches. It turned out that against Wang Jiaxi, they had lost even more tragically than against Huang Shaoxin. After all, not only was their opponent far more skilled than them, but their opponent's character was much stronger too. After Little Bei lost, Night Tides and Lulan/ went up one after the other. Neither of them were able to bring about any opportunities before being killed by Wang Jiaxi. Their remaining comrade, a cleric, naturally wouldn't fight in a duel. They were all feeling somewhat embarrassed after losing 4 times in a row. They wanted to fight again, but they felt bad to make a request that would waste the other side's time. Correct, after facing a god's true might, they felt that fighting against him was just a waste of time. Ha ha, they lost so miserably. Yishu floated by just when Chen Guo was feeling sorry for them. Chen Guo turned her head to look at Yishu, who had already turned his head back to his screen. However, he had clearly seen the situation from Chen Guo's screen. They're not in the fixed field. Their characters are still far from Bakuria. Chen Guo had seen their equipment already. It was true that their equipment weren't bad because they had the money, but they still couldn't compare to pro player accounts. Pro player accounts not only had the best equipment available in the game, but more importantly, they had self-made equipment suited especially for them, especially for a legendary character like Bakuria, who had silver equipment from head to toe. This was not just a result of money. It was a result of the combination of money and cutting-edge technology. Yeah, I'm sure they know that. I just don't know if they've made any preparations, Yishu said. What do you mean? Chen Guo asked. Did you forget? Lulan/ had been very optimistic about their strength initially. They had never personally experienced the difference in skill and experience and didn't know how big of a difference it was. However, the difference in equipment is something that can be directly observed. There's no way they would have thought that they were skilled enough to make up for the clear difference in equipment, no? From their initial optimism, I think that they've made preparations for their equipment. The ones they're wearing right now might not be the ones they'll be using in the Pro Alliance. Yi Shu said. So you're saying that they've already prepared silver equipment? Chen Guo said. Even if they don't have any right now, they should have at least had thoughts of making up for the difference in equipment, right? If not, then I'll really be quite speechless towards these arrogant children, Yi Shu said. The match wasn't over on that side yet. Wang Jiaxi actually went another round with each of them. They didn't do as badly as before, but the results didn't change. Without the fixed field negating the equipment advantage, it would be difficult for them even if Wang Jiaxi wanted to lose. What is Wang Jiaxi thinking? Chen Guo asked Yi Shu. I thought that was what you were investigating? Why are you asking me? Yi Shu asked back. I thought you understood these people. You tell me, Chen Guo demanded. He's probably just testing their strength, that's all, Yi Shu said. Testing their strength? They will be Tiny Herb's opponents in the future. Wang Jiaxi never underestimates any of his opponents. He's looking to figure out Lulan Slash and his group's skill level, Yi Shu said. What about now? Can he get a good understanding after 2 rounds? He's probably figured out their individual skill by now. As for their ability as a team, I don't think he'd ask for them to fight him 5v1. He'll most likely make an excuse like, yes, let's have a friendly match in the future or something. Yi Shu's gaze drifted away. Ah, Chen Guo cried out because when she looked back, she discovered that in the public chat, Wang Jiaxi was currently discussing with Lulan Slash a time for them to have a friendly match. What a god, Chen Guo looked back at Yi Shu. Yeah, I'm a god, but it's more like I have good eyes, Yi Shu said. What do you mean? Chen Guo stared blankly. I saw what they were saying, Yi Shu pointed at the screen. Chen Guo suddenly understood. He had simply looked at what Wang Jiaxi was saying. No wonder he hesitated and suddenly shifted his gaze. Chen Guo tried hard not to curse out at him. In the arena, Lulan Slash happily agreed to the friendly match. Chen Guo couldn't help but feel a bit worried though. Does this count as being duped? Duped? That's a bit of a stretch. Lulan Slash might be getting probed out by Tiny Herb, but they can also get a taste of the champion team's strength. For them, this is a rare opportunity, Yi Shu said as he glanced at Chen Guo's screen. After looking at their chat, he lamented, oh, they've scheduled it for after playoffs. Tisk tisk, Wang Jiaxi ah, Wang Jiaxi. What's wrong? He clearly feels that they're not any threat to them in the Pro Alliance right now, so he intentionally delayed it. He wants to see if they've improved during this time. You could say he's putting some effort into this, Yi Shu said. This guy really is. Chen Guo had seen Valkyria a lot. But as for the player behind the character, she only occasionally saw Wang Jiaxi from reports or interviews. Chen Guo wasn't his fan either, so she didn't understand him too well. From Yi Shu, she was able to get a good understanding of the real Wang Jiaxi. She wasn't sure what to use to describe him. Chen Guo felt a bit uncomfortable towards him, but she had to admit that he was diligent. He was very, very diligent. He was just like Yi Shu. The effort he put into glory was something she couldn't compare with. After Wang Jiaxi discussed matters with Lulan Slash, they left their contact details and then exited the arena. Once Lulan Slash came out, he sent Yi Shu a sad face emoji. I saw it all, Yi Shu replied. From Chasing Haze's computer, Yi Shu said. Oh, you two are together, Lulan Slash said. Yeah. We lost so miserably, Lulan Slash cried. Your skill isn't as good. Your character isn't as good. You guys should have been ready for this type of result. No, Yi Shu replied. We did, but it still doesn't feel good to lose, Lulan Slash said. You're going to be a pro player soon. You have to learn how to stand up quickly from defeat and learn from your losses, Yi Shu advised. That's the theory, but it's not that easy to actually put it into practice, Lulan Slash continued to cry. You can do it, Yi Shu said. Yes. Definitely, Lulan Slash sent a fighting emoji. After being crushed by Yi Shu last time, he had received quite a bit of stimulation today. Soon afterwards, the two went on to do their thing and didn't talk anymore. The next day, on all of the esport platforms, from the internet to print media, all of them had the same headline: pro players surround Lord Grimm, begging for a match. The three question marks sparkled on the media outlets. The content talked about the huge crowd of pro players that had swarmed the heavenly domain and then entered the same room in the arena. They weren't there to compare notes with each other, but rather there for a single person. In recent times, his popularity and glory has soared through the heavens. Carrying a transforming silver weapon and using an unspecialized, which had died out many years ago, the mystery man, Lord Grimm. PFT, Chen Guo was eating breakfast as she watched the next. She lost herself as she spat out her food in laughter at the description of the mystery man. Hey, Yi Shu protested. Sorry. Cough cough. It really is, cough, Chen Guo choked. Tang Ru was in a flurry. She handed Yi Shu some napkins, while patting Chen Guo's back. Their reactions were only on a small scale. At the clubs, as soon as the reports came out, the pro players were given a furious roar. Those who hadn't woken up from that were directly flipped out from their nests, especially those whose names had been listed clearly in the reports. God d** MMIT. What the f** CK did you guys do? The directors and managers from every team might not have spat out their breakfast, but they certainly forgot themselves in a fit of anger.